Hi, I'm Jane. I've been using Daz Studio for approximately 3 years now. I'm just doing a beginner tutorial to tell you some of the things that you would probably want, no, you want to know before you download this and think that you're going to become the next porn king making stuff for Effect 3D that people will buy and you can get a mansion and all that. Well, maybe. Good luck. Anyway, Daz 3D is a free program. You bring 3D assets in, you arrange them in such a way, you put textures on them, you add lighting, and you render it. And then it's really beautiful, and it's something you can sell to advertisers, or you can sell to a porno book, or whatever. There's the things you can do with Daz are just there's multitudes, but it's got its downfall. It's got its little traps, and this is where it starts. The key to your 3D universe. I love this because it shows everything you need to understand. Everything you're seeing on there costs money. Somebody modeled that character, gave that character the ability to model the ear, to give you a morph. That's what they call it, a morph, inside the character package that you bought and downloaded will be the ability to change the ears, maybe change the mouth to something a little more elfin or something, whatever. There may even be clothes. Most clothes are bought separately. Some stuff does have clothes included in it, which is really nice of them. I appreciate that. This is where you would go. You go to Daz's shop, and this is how they make their money. Everything here is done by somebody who's living somewhere else in the world, sitting at their computer, modeling characters, accessories, designing lighting and making it, building environments, building buildings, making islands, clothing, hair, makeup, the entire 9 yards of things that you would want to add to a modeled character to start being able to make a scene that looked like people inhabited it, that had a story, that had a reason for being there, so to speak. Daz is a wonderful program. It's a blast to use, but it's expensive, very expensive. The only warning I would have is if you're going to buy a clothing set, don't buy a clothing set that is just one piece. The shirt, the pants, the boots, everything is all one piece. You can click on it and add it to your character, and all they have is they have the hat, the shirt, the coat, the belt, the pants, the boots, the socks. You can't remove any of that. So your vision is determined now by what that person is offering you. So you look at that, is that really what I wanted to see? Would I be happier taking the top off and adding something else? If you don't have the ability to do that, I say don't buy the product. Just don't. Skip it. Walk by it. Because to me, that's lazy. You know, the, I know it's a lot of work, but some of this stuff is selling really well. Um, there's 3Ds, excuse me, there's Daz's shop, there's Renderosity, there's Render Hub, there's Renderotica. If you're doing porn, you'll be a Renderotica longer than anybody else. Um, Share CG, which I really like. Sickle Yield's got a lot of stuff here, and she's awesome. She's one of our oldest and most helpful users. She has a little niche where she makes various items and assets to be brought into Daz that are very unique, and nobody else really is doing that. It would be like if I finally figured out how to use Marvelous Designer correctly, I would be making certain kinds of clothing that nobody else would be making. Stuff I want to make. Fortunately, that's what I want to make. I don't want to make what everybody else wears because I don't wear what everybody else wears. Screw them. But again, it's expensive. You can cut costs by buying freebies. You can be very careful in what you buy, but every asset that goes into your scene is going to cost you unless you're a modeler. Because nobody wants to use the same set of clothing over and over. You don't want to use the same hair over and over. You don't want to use the same makeup. You don't want to use the same skin texture over and over and over. And I'll show you why. Okay, in the middle is my character. On the sides, Genesis 3, Genesis 8, both nice and bland. You know, this is the default base character that you would model in Blender or whatever, and bring into Daz as a new model. You would create the textures for it, or you would buy someone's textures and apply them to it. Doesn't matter. The texture on this one and on this one, those are base. They're very bland. I think they have all the quality of a sidewalk, and they're not as supportive. But, you know, they offered them up. But they also want you to buy stuff. And all those creators out there want you to buy stuff. Please, buy the skin texture I made. Buy this clothes I made. Buy my hair. It looks lovelier than that other person's. Anyway, one of the things you can do with this, you can mess with skin without buying a bloody thing. Take your character, click on them, choose them in here. And this is common knowledge, everybody knows this. Go down to skin, and here's a whole bunch of stuff you can play with. And I'm going to show you just one. Diffuse strength. Diffuse is really popular. I use the keypad, changed it to 5. Now look at her skin. And it can get worse. Don't forget your undo, etc., etc., etc. I see no reason not to have fun spending money on it. Hell, I've been doing it for 3 years now. But I'm also learned how to be very, very picky. Whatever you do, do not shop Daz while drinking. You will regret it. End of that. All right. You know where to go. You know what you're gonna be needing. You're gonna be needing to buy everything that goes into it. You can end up making decent scenes, though. I mean, I did this with what I have, and I am not freaking rich under any circumstances. I'm not saying this is great art or anything. I like it, and I think it looks good. It's not as good as other stuff, but those didn't have a lot of clothes. Posing is something that's really important here. And again, you can get pose packages. You can do it yourself. It's very easy to do. Click your character, go into parameters, go down to any body part you want to move around, and then just start bending, folding, stippling, and mutilating. Pay attention to hands. Hands are extremely expressive. Those are one of them, you know, we say so much with our hands, and everybody is just so happy leaving them default. Let them show things. I went to a museum back in New York back in like '84 and saw an entire exhibit of little plaster hands that Rodin had sculpted, practicing gestures. And some of them were so expressive I didn't even need to see the face of the character to know what was going on almost. That's the kind of thing you can do. When you're posing, you can go have all the drama in the world. Get the pose where you want it. Then add your clothes and simulate it. And then, you know, before you do your clothes, there's one trick that I have for everybody. I consider this one of my favorite tools up here. I usually use it at the end because no matter what I do, I kind of end up with these static poses that don't really seem to have a lot of life in them. So I go up here and grab the the active pose tool. What it does is it pulls the entire body, depending on, I don't know how they programmed it or anything like that, but I've been finding this to be a great finisher for any pose I have because I can use it to add a dynamism that goes through the entire body of the character. Now, just because I'm moving her hair doesn't mean that this is going to stay weighted, and that's your clue with poses. Poses are all about weight distribution. Now this weight should be way back here on that heel. But is it? Oops, sorry. Let's find out. It's not. So, moving her moved the leg and the foot. So let's see what I would have to do to make this look semi-decent. I haven't tried this in a while. Now, in some ways, I like that even better. It ended up moving her just a little bit, and she's almost feeling like she's off kilter, which to anybody looking at it, that would be dynamic. That would add something to the scene. It adds something to her stance. It makes her look more freaking realistic. That's the kind of thing you want with poses. You want realism. Remember, you're oh, well, actually, I take that back. Some people are going to be doing animated stuff. I mean, not animated, anime stuff, and, well, there's no realism there at all. Um, Posing, to me, the only clues I have is that one little trick with that, and then whenever you have people together in a scene, you want them to be, they're either in conflict or they don't know each other or they do. And depending on how they're interacting with each other, are they, is one of them touching the other? How are they contacting each other, if at all? How are they facing? What are they doing? But for the main, one of the biggest tips, if you have two or three people in there, all you need is to have one character standing near one of them and extending her arm out and touching them, even just touching them, would be enough to bring cohesion, to bring a slight amount of the idea that there may be a story here, there's something going on. Interactions between the characters is good. And I'm talking about just having a girl bent over a desk with an orc doing her up the back. You know, we have 5,000, 100 million of those. Do we still need more? Just go back and buy the old shit. And get away from the orcs. They're too funny looking. Use blue people. All right, lighting is my last one I'm going to talk about because it has changed a little bit. NVIDIA did an update about, I think it was like 8 months ago, 9 months ago. It could have been a year ago. My time sense sucks. And that changed the qualities that went into some of the lighting, including ghost lights, which is what I use almost exclusively. Almost. And ghost lights depend on a plane like you have here. And you add an emission texture to it that turns it into a light and you affect that. Well, there's a guy who's made ghost lights, and he's made some of the most awesome lights I have ever seen in my life. But he fixed them and when NVIDIA did their upgrade to their software or their drivers, they basically killed the ghost lights because you couldn't make that plane disappear with the cutout opacity. By that I mean, I'll show you real quick in case you don't know. If you want to disappear something that's in the scene, you can disappear it. Choose it. Go down to cutout opacity and slide it to 0. And that's what we did with the planes down to 0.000000001. So it disappeared, but it still was present in the scene to be able to emit light. The guy who did the second Ghost Lights package did that really well. I used that instead of typing 18 zeros into the light value. And it's handy, and his lights are really interesting. I like them a lot. And there they are. There's his earlier batch, but we couldn't use them. Like I said, the planes were disappearing. But these are nice. Very, very nice. I love the way these things work. And I love these dish lights. Lighting is interesting to me. I like lighting bodies. I like the way light and shadow work. That's the only thing that really interests me as much as it could. And that's basically how I would do it. Pop that puppy in there. And then give it, oh frack. Usually it'll pop up. But sometimes you have to go find the texture. And while we're on poses and I'm trying to find this thing, expressions are something else you can change. I mean, you can change the looks of your character's face as far as the mouth and nose, the eyes. They can change in different ways to show different kinds of facial expressions. Whatever you do, please don't overdo it, because there is no way in hell anybody walks down the street with their eyes wide and their mouth wide open screaming. Not everybody's having an orgasm at Taco Bell. And this is why I like the light. Of course, the other thing is you want to go in with a camera. And remember, when you make a camera, immediately go to headlamp and turn that off. Whatever you do. Whatever you do, please turn that off. I don't have a distance light in there. But and then in render, I know most people don't do this, but I like spectring enable on, and I always turn this off because otherwise it just takes too long for it to bloody render up. It just drives me crazy. And that is why I use ghost lights. These shadows, that's gold. There's money in that dark area. That's how I like it to look. It adds reality, it adds definition. You can use it in all kinds of ways. Quite handy. And it makes your characters interesting. It makes them attractive. It makes them appealing to the eye, is how I should say it. I mean, I would be perfectly happy with moving that light around and using one light for a scene if I was in the mood. Not that I've done it. Oh, wait, I have. Off, on. There we go. See, that already looks realistic. Nothing is light everywhere. People don't scream everywhere they go. And when you're posing, have the characters interacting and touching. Remember the cost of the program. It's fucking expensive if you go crazy. Never drink and buy a Daz. You should probably have a breathalyzer on the website. I've made that mistake a few times. Have fun with it. Break the rules. Just because you see somebody else doing something doesn't mean that's the right way to do it. There's people out there doing, that Russian guy who does the vampire fudas. Excellent lighting. His stuff is really clean. He does it very, very well. But his saturation is way up too high for me. I mean, I like the fact he bitches about people who do lighting, basically shitty lighting. Like a lot of the 14-year-olds who are doing porn and all they want to do is see if they can make the breasts as big as a house. You know, whatever makes you happy. If you're using Daz and you're happy with it, everything's fine. Enjoy the piss out of it. I can't think of anything else to talk about, and I'm sick of wasting my time and your time. Good luck with it. If you have any questions, just let me know. I think I'm going to redo this because, God, I'm sure this sucks. Be safe.